Boker Tov. Today's daf yomi is Bava Kamma daf Kufyu Tes 119. Today's the last daf of Maseches Bava Kamma. We thank Hashem Yisbarach for giving us the strength to study this Masechta together. May we have the merit to study many more Masechtos together and to finish all of Shas together. Today's daf yomi is dedicated for a Shmira, for Am Yisrael, for a Shmira for the Chayalim, for Yeshua, for the hostages, for Hatzoah, for the hostages. So we're on the top of Kufya Tes Amud Aleph, when the Daf Yomi tells us on the top of 119a, Big Shkoyach to Hobbs has walked in now. It's completed another Masechta Bava Kamma. How many have you done together now, Hobbs? Okay, the best answer. I don't even know. So the Gemara tells us that you're now allowed to buy some wood or fruit from a person whose job it is to watch the fruit. Presumably, he's taking a little on the side and selling the stuff. But the Gemara tells us Rav Zabin Shabishta Me'arisa, Rav used to buy some wood from a sharecropper. Sharecropper is not exactly a shomer because he's a part owner, where he gets part of the crops itself. So Amoy Abai, but Abai says to him, Tanang, Homi Shomer Paris for Eitzim, Homi Shomer Paris, Eitzim in Paris. You can't buy wood and fruit from somebody whose job is to watch the fruit. Amalei. So they responded to, see, it's not clear that this is Rav, because that's why they changed the Girsa to Rava, because Abai and Rav were not contemporaries. So Rava, that's why in Nagos with Tziyunim, they change it to Rava. So Rava responds, yes. When is that the case? Hani mili b'shomer do'esle b'gufa da'ara. When do we say that he doesn't get to partake in the fruits? That you can't buy fruits from him by a watchman, because he doesn't get a share of the crops. Of Aris, so a shomer do'esle b'gufa da'ara midi of an Aris, but a sharecropper, the isle b'gava, he has a share of it. Maybe he's selling what he owns, and so therefore it's legitimate to buy from him. Says the Gemara, the Brisa says, "Shomei peros lochem ehen kashen yoshvin u'mochen." Even though you're not supposed to purchase from watchmen, you're not supposed to purchase their fruits because it's most likely not theirs. You're allowed to purchase it when they're sitting and selling it by selling with name, and the baskets are in front of them, with Tortani of name, and the scales are in front of them, meaning to say that they set up a shop, and it's obviously much more legit. With Kulan Amro Hatmain, and in all of these cases where they said hide it, Asr, meaning to say if the guy sells you, he says put it away so nobody should see. Well, pretty strong indication that there's something fishy going on. So don't buy it. Local mehen. You're allowed to purchase if the guy's selling it from the front, and if he says, no, I can only sell it to you in the back room, don't buy it. If the guy is a robber, maybe he has a reputation as a robber, and then he repented, or maybe he has some stuff with him, some is stolen, some is not, at what point are you allowed to purchase it? Rav says only when the majority of the produce or the product he has is his, then you can purchase it from him. Shmuel says even if he owns just a small amount. Yeah, the place, Hobbs? You had a question?
The other people are not allowed to take back what's theirs and make it easier to do.
They're allowed to take back what's theirs. We're talking about buying other stuff that he's selling. The guy's a sneaker salesman. The robber does teshuva, or he wants to do tshuva, but he presumably the scenario that says that he's trying to do tshuva, he doesn't know how to return everything. He doesn't know who he took it from, so he hasn't returned it. So it could be you're buying stolen things. Right, yeah, right. He acquired it, exactly.
Why did it say is if he acquired it?
Right. So maybe he didn't acquire everything. Maybe he didn't make a change to some of it. So maybe he hasn't acquired it yet. He's trying to repent. He hasn't completed it yet. You're asking a good question, but the case is a little ambiguous exactly what it's talking about. But it's not 100% clear. So the bottom line is that you have a guy, we suspect he has stolen goods. Can you buy from him? So Rav says, if you think that most of it is his, you could buy from him. Shmuel says, even if you think that just a little bit of it is his, you could buy from him. So, Orile Rav Yehuda Ada Dailai. So Rav Yehuda showed his attendant, whose name was Ada, and probably he was the guy in charge of purchasing for the operation. So Rabbi Yehuda said, "Kedivrei Omer afil mutual. Even if just a smaller amount is his, you're allowed to purchase from him." Mamon Masor. So this is the money of an informant. Rabbi Yehuda, are you allowed to destroy it with his hands? And one says you can destroy his money, and the other one says you can't destroy him. The one who says you're allowed to destroy it. Well, you're allowed to. Since an informant was presenting a real physical danger to you, you were allowed to kill him. So of course you could take his money. The worst one that says you're not allowed to kill him, because you can't take his money because maybe he's going to have kids who are good. And the Rasha will prepare for the tzaddik to wear. Meaning to say, even though he's bad, his kids will be good, so therefore don't take his money. Rav Chisda had a sharecropper who was weighing it out exactly and giving it out exactly. So Stalke Kra, Stalke, so he fired him. Rav Chisda fired a sharecropper. Kara Nafshe Mitzafun Utzadik Cheochote. That he said basically prepare for the tzaddik the portions of the sinner. A big question that commentaries discuss is what was he doing that was so bad? So different theories. One is he really wasn't doing it 50-50, he wasn't doing it exact, or he wasn't taking what he was supposed to. But to me, it makes it sound like nobody wants to deal with a guy who's counting like every bean, every grain. He's not saying, "Oh, here, you take the extra." It's a nudnik. You didn't want to deal with him. You have to be giving a little extra to make sure that you're not really taking what's not yours. Kima. So now we come to the pasuk. Kima tikvot chanef ki yivtza ki yashel Eloha nafsho. So what is the hope of the hypocrite when he steals, because Hashem will cast away his soul? What do we do with this pasuk? Hashem will cast away. That what is he doing? He's casting away the soul of the person who is being robbed. Meaning to say, what's the hope of the robber to be saved from punishment? Even if he'll return what he stole, Hashem will make a claim against him because he killed a person. He killed the person who he robbed. Meaning to say, when you rob somebody, you're really killing him. And some say it's the soul of the robber. One who says it's the soul of the person who's being killed or who's being robbed because he's really being killed. If somebody steals, they're really taking their soul of the other person. By the way, so we come to the end of this Masechta, and we realize what's at stake here. When you steal from someone, you're not just stealing from them, you're really destroying them. And it's a type of killing them. And the one who says it refers to the soul of the robber, because it says, Al tigzol dal kidahu, don't steal from a poor person, even though he's poor. And don't crush the poor man in the gate. Ki Hashem yariv rivam, v'kavas koveim nefesh. Meaning to Hashem will fight for the people who are being robbed. But according to the other approach, what does it say? That the soul of the one who nefesh ba'alav yikach, he will take the soul of the person being robbed. My ba'alav da'ashta. No, whoever is, it means ba'alav da'ashta, meaning say the robber, that now he's the person who has the money, so he's going to be robbed. So the Gemara says. So the Gemara says. V'idach nami aksiv v'kavaz koveim nefesh matam kamar missing matam v'kavaz koveim. What's the reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take the soul of the robbers? Mishum the kavai nefesh, because they took the soul of the person being robbed. Amar Rabbi Yochanan kol hagozo as chaveru shavat pruta. It says Rabbi Yochanan, whoever steals from his friend something that's the value of a penny, kilu notel nishmasa mimenu. It's as though he took a soul. As states kin or chos kol botzei betzes nefesh ba'alav yikach v'omer. V'chol kitzir, it says in the pasuk, v'chol kitzircha v'lachmecha yochlu, that those who eat your harvest and your bread, b'necho b'nosecha, that your sons and your daughters, the one who eats your harvest of and your bread will be eating your sons and your daughters. Meaning to say, if you take somebody's food, then you're denying their children the ability to live. Omer, and also states in the pasuk, it states, Mechamas b'nei Yehuda asher shafchu dam naki ba'artzam, that they'll be punished because of the violence they did to the children of Judah, that they spilled their blood in their land. Omer el Shaol vel beit adamim asher emisas agivonim, and God will punish Saul and his house because they killed the Givonim. And there was a famine in the land. So as a result of this. So the Gemara says, why do we need all these psukim? Well, you might think, okay, if you steal, you're killing him, but you're not necessarily killing his children. So therefore, Tashram Basar Benav Ubenosav. You say, only when are you a robber if you don't give him money for it, if you don't pay for it? But let's say you take it by force, you take it by force, then you're not a robber. No, you're still a robber. Tashma mechamas b'nei Yehuda asher shafchu dam naki ba'artzam. And if you want to say, well, when are you considered a robber where you take it with your hands? But indirect robber, you're not. Tashma Shaul and the house of blood because they killed the Givonim. So the Gemara says, wait 1 sec, so they're robbers. The Gemara says, Harag Shaul as a Givonim. Did Shaul really kill the Givonim? He killed the city of Nov. He didn't kill the Givonim. Remember this story? That Nov were Kohanim, and they showed David HaMelech the sword, and so therefore they gave David refuge, and so therefore Shaul killed the whole city, but he didn't kill the Givonim. He killed the Nov city of the Kohanim. But because Shaharag Nov Virkanam Shayim Maspigol and Ma'im Mazon, but they were giving food and water to the Givonim, Mawa al Kasav Kilo Argon. So it's as though Saul killed them. So even indirectly, stealing is considered murder because he stole their bread and water. You're allowed to purchase from the women, from the wives, certain things which there was a custom for them to sell. You could buy the woolen garments in Judah and the linen garments in the Galilee, but not flour, oil, and wine. Not slaves and children, because it's considered that they stole it from the master of the house. A woman could sell something very small, like 4 or 5 dinars worth, kipa to buy, so she could buy a handkerchief for her head. Whenever anybody says, yeah, I'm selling it to you, but put it away so nobody should see, that's prohibited to buy. A collector of charity, you're allowed to purchase from them, or you're allowed to take from them. Let's say you're a collector of charity. This person can take from the women just a small amount because the women it's not their money. They share with their husband. It's their husband's responsibility unless they make a different deal. So you can't take charity from them. It's just a small amount, which presumably the husband gives them the right. But not a large amount. And the oil pressers, you're allowed to take them oil the olives by a large amount, and a large amount of oil, because for sure they're selling it with permission. but not a small amount of olives and small amount of oil because they don't have permission for that. Rishpag Omer, Lochem Minashim Zaysim B'Moed B'Galil Elyon. Shpag says you're allowed to buy olives on the around the festivals in the upper Galilee, Shepamim Adam Bush, because there it's very expensive. And for Adam Bush, Limkor Al Pesach Pesach, because maybe he's too embarrassed to sell it himself. And no, he gives it to his wife and she sells it. Ravina Ikol Bein Machuza. Ravina came to Machuza. Also, Nished Bein Machuza, Ramu Kamei, Kavle Vashiri V'Kabel Manau. So the women from Bnei Machuza came out. They threw their jewelry in front of him, and he accepted it. Amalei Rava Tosfa Ravina. So Rabba Tosfa said to Ravina, "Vatanya Gabe Tzedakah Mekabel Man Davar Muat Avo Davar Meruba." Didn't we just say a charity collector can only take a small amount, not a large amount? Amalei Hani of Bnei Machuza Davar Muat. He says, "Yeah, but for these people of Bnei Machuza, this is not allowed on money, so it's allowed." So now up to the Mishnah, the last Mishnah, the very, very technical Mishnah. A lot of terms, machinery and production, they really need to know what's called the realia. You need to know the exact way things look. Like if we described a zipper today on your jacket, you obviously know what it means, but they had very different ways of having clothing. So we'll do the best we can. Mochin, shakoves motzi. So the basically the parts that fall off the garments when the person does the laundry, the launderer maker, Harei gets to keep them. Basorek, but the comber of the wool, Motzi, Harei Basorek, the stuff that the wool comber takes out, that belongs to the owner. Koves noto gimel chutin, the laundry maker gets 3 strings. If the strings are very expensive, he gets to be able to take 3, and that belongs to him. Yes, or mekan, but if more than 3 strings come off, that belongs to the owner. But if it's a thread that you don't want there, like black on white, then you could take it. Or the tailor shashira sachuti has the leftover string, the tailor that has leftover string to sew it, or if you have a leftover piece of garment that's greater than 3 by 3, it belongs to the owner. That which the carpenter takes is able, the leftover that he takes out with the matzad. Rashi says this is something to smooth down the wood like a wood planer. The carpenter gets to keep that. But if it's a kashil, Rashi says that's an axe, makes larger pieces. It belongs to the owner. But if he's a hired worker with the owner, even the wood shavings belong to the owner. You're allowed to purchase this leftover wool from the laundryman because they're his, because meaning he gets to keep them. The laundry maker gets the top 2 threads, and there is on top of 119b. But you can't, and he shouldn't leave over when he sews the loops of the garment together. He shouldn't leave over more than 3 stitches. He shouldn't comb the garment by its length, but rather only by its width. And when he evens it out, he does it by its length and not the width. He could smooth it out up until tefach. But we said here it says 2 threads, but we learned in our Mishnah 3. What depends on the type of the garment, if it's a big garment or if it's a small garment. By a big garment, he gets more. So, or excuse me, depends on the threads. If the threads are thick or small, if they're thick threads, he gets only 2. If they're small, he gets up to 3. Okay, you can't comb the garment by its length, only its width. But then we learn the opposite. No, it's not a difficulty. It's talking about 2 different scenarios. One is a glima, which is a regular coat that you wear every day, and one is a sarbua. That's like a very special garment, like that special occasions for just for trip. You shouldn't leave over more than 3 stitches. It doesn't really tell us why you can't do it, but it says you shouldn't leave over more than 3 stitches. So by Rabbi Yirmiyah, Amtuye vasuye chad, udom amtuye vasuye trey, is when you dig it in and out, is that considered 1 or 2 stitches? So the Gemara says teku. Leave that question unresolved. Mashvinu arko of oil or you can smooth it out by the length, but not the width. But then we learn the absolute kasha. So one is by a belt, and one is by a garment, and one is by a belt, and so therefore you only see the two. It's not really as visible. Rashi says, okay. You can't purchase the wool combings from the sorek because they're not his. When the place where they are is, you could take it. You can always purchase from them a karmale, a pillow that's full of mochen, v'keses mulea mochen, and you can always purchase the car is the pillow, and the keses is the mattress. You can always purchase that from them, even once it's folded up. My time can nail b'shino, but since he stuffed it with wool, he's acquired it, so it's no longer it's not the stolen property. It's he acquired it. No, you can't buy from the weaver. These are all items, like I said at the beginning, that are involved in the production of the woolen garments and there, because we assume that he stole them. These are like the little small things. We assume that he stole them from the owner. That was the way they did it. But you could buy a very fancy colored garment. Since he acquired it by making it into a garment, then it's going to be his. And also eravushasi, meaning to say those items they used for production, you can't buy them when they are eravushasi, meaning to say these type of threads that you put in the spool, but you can buy them when they are taviva arag. You can buy them when they're sewn and they are woven. Well, if they are spun, you can buy them for sure. Then when they're woven, you can buy them. Gemara says, no, my arag. What does it mean, arag? It doesn't mean they're woven. It means taki. It means you could take them when they are a chain, but they're not spun prior. And so that's when it's permitted to take them. Okay, if you're coming to take from the dyers, you can't take it when they're the test pieces or the models. You can't take the cut off pieces of wool of lochaman, beget savua, but you can take from them a colored garment, tavi. That is, you could take from them a colored garment that is tavi begadim. You could take from them colored garments, whether they are spun, or if they are turned into garments. And Gemara says, "Hashet tavi shakel." Well, once it's spun, you could take it. Begadim ibai, for sure. If it's a full garment, you could take it. Gemara says, "No, my begadim." What does it mean when it's a garment? It means it wasn't spun and then woven into wool, but it was namti. It was never spun. It was immediately pressed down into wool, like into felt, and that's what you're allowed to take because they turned into a garment. Tana Rabbanan, and those saying oros la'ad, unless you give the leather to the tanner to make them into leather. And those saying oros la'ad, the cut off pieces he gets to keep. The cut off pieces they go to the owner. But the parts that he soaks in the water afterwards, the smaller pieces that float up from the water, that belongs to the tanner. If it was black threads on white threads, then you could take it. Presumably, they don't look good, so he doesn't care. The tailor is called a katra, meaning to say the laundry maker is called a katra, the katra shakel. Those threads that he shortens from the garment, he could take. Meaning to say if the laundry maker did not shorten the garment, those three strings at the ends of the garment, if they are going to be they're going to be counted for the amount that is distance from the thing from the garment to put the tzitzis on. Yitzchak Bri Capital Yitzchak, his son, was careful about it. Let's say you have strings that were left over. Vakamo it for. And so if they're left over enough to sew with, that belongs to the owner. And how much you need to sew with? Amar Ravasi, the amount of a needle plus more than the needle. You mean the amount of a needle plus more than a needle? The full size. Meaning just a little amount. Tashman Tanya Chayet Shashir Sachut Pachos Mikdei with Vorbo Matal Shipkuta Mishal Shashos Bisman Shabal Bais Makbel and Arel Shabal Bais. So if you have your leftover thread that's less than the amount to sew with, or if you have something smaller than 3 tefachim, if the owner cares about them, they belong to him. But if he doesn't care, you get to keep them. If you say it's the full size of a needle, then less of that, you could use it to do one thread. What's it worth for? Why would you think that the owner cares about it? So it means the full size of a needle. Okay. That which the carpenter cuts with the sander, he gets to keep. But if it was with the axe, it goes to the owner. But we learned the contradiction. That which he cuts with the sander, and the pieces that he cuts with the saw, that belongs to the owner. And those little small shavings that come out when he uses a drill, or with a plane, and the shavings, the sawdust, basically, that the carpenter gets to keep. So we have a contradiction. So says Rava, in our place, in the place of the Tana of our Mishnah, there are two types of axes. Rabasi karle kashil, the large axe they called a kashil. Zutarti karle matzah, they called the small one a matzah. And so therefore, basically, with the large one you can't keep it. There they only had one place. So even back in the time of Talmud, they really didn't know what these terms were. So it's hard for us to really know. But if it was working for the Balabayas, then even the shavings belong to the owner. So it says the Gemara. That when you hew out the stones, the leftover pieces after you carve out the stone, that's not considered theft. Of course, we had this in our parasha this week. Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem says Psolocha Saluchos, and Hashem says Psolosh Yeshacha, carve out the tablets, and Hashem says you could get the leftovers. So, and that's how Moshe Rabbeinu got rich, because the second luchos were made out of some pirion, like sapphire, so he was allowed to keep the psolet. If you want to prune the trees or the grapevines, or somebody who is weeding out the thorns, or weeding out the seeds, or somebody who's hoeing the vegetables. If the owner cares it's theft, then if the owner doesn't care, then he gets to keep them. Rav Yehuda says, Kashut are hops. They used to use hops in making beer. They don't really use it anymore. I don't know if they don't use it anymore, but now most American beer is from corn, I think. The chaz is a type of seeds or grass. That's not considered to be gezel. If you take that, why not? The Gemara doesn't say why, but presumably that the owner wouldn't care about it. But ba'asr dekapti, in a place that they care about it, yesh ben mishum gezel. And Amar Avinu matam achasya asr dekapti. He says matam achasya is a place where they care, so you can't take the hops and the chazes. So Rashi, so a lot of people point out, well, first of all, why is the Gemara ending on such a downer? We studied it for 118 days, and this is the last line, nothing uplifting. So people point out that Rashi says the Matam Mechasi was a place Malcolm Behemosu Tzrichen Meratov, and they needed good food fodder for their animals. But Rashi ends on the word tov, so Rashi wants to end on a good note. So that's why Rashi put in the word tov. Others say, no, it's not really the end of the Masechta, because the three Bavas, we saw this already in our Gemara, Kol Nezikin Chadu. All Nezikin is one. So Bava Kamma has 10 chapters, Bava Metzia has 10, Bava Basra has 10. So it's really just a continuation. So the tractate's not really coming to an end. But I was thinking that it's also like this. Mata Mechasya Asri Dekapti was a place where they care, is to teach us this idea that if somebody cares about something, you have to put that to mind your whole time to make sure that you don't do theft or you don't take advantage. The whole tractate is noticing when other people care so that you don't somehow violate their property or their space or somehow hurt them. Okay, we're going to say a siyum, but only on Shabbos Kodesh, but I'll do it this afternoon at Princeton. We'll do a siyum there too. That'll be later this afternoon. But anyway, a big shkoyach to everybody. Big shkoyach to everybody for studying Bava Kamma every single day, 3 times a day. A big shkoyach. On to Bava Metzia. On to Bava Metzia.
Thank you.
Thank you.